What's up, everybody? It's me, the Tabletop Tyrant. Another Talks with the Tyrant as we dive into Tamurkhan, the Throne of Chaos. Now, Tamurkhan was an awesome campaign supplement. It used the 8th edition rule set and is something that I have every intention of trying to attempt to port over into the old world. Will things be perfect? No, but I'm thinking between me and a couple people, I can probably balance out a good chunk of it. Now, there is 6 chapters that go into this campaign or into the story, I guess you could say. A slew of awesome artwork. And I guess I'll let Alan Bly kind of talk about what it was intended to kind of go and look like.
And it's the first chance to do for Warhammer what we do for Warhammer 40,000 with the Imperial Armour range. It tells the story of a chaos incursion into the old world in great detail, and allows us to do a lot of stuff to the fringes of the Warhammer world, really explore it and give a deep piece of background for the Warhammer.
So that was over on the Forge World visual feed, and they had some amazing interviews. They even cover the Imperial Armors, the Badab Wars, and they kind of go into it. Now, this was written, as I said previously, by Rick Priestley and Alan Bly, and it's a fantastic book, and I really do think they captivated it when they said they were trying to go and make it look like an ancient tome. And it prefaces that in the beginning when it talks about it, I hike Mark Vanek, just being absolutely clobbered to pieces and masquerading as some Sigmarite priest. And in this, we find in our possession the Book of Tamurkhan, Throne of Chaos. And in typical fashion, the book was written by an unknown author, but which would later be known to us at the end of the story as Sale the Faithless. Really awesome character, super huge douche, and I think plays into what makes Chaos just so fantastic. And this is just my own personal preference, but there is a big difference between 40k Chaos and the Fantasy Chaos. I think the 40k Chaos is a little bit more layered in terms of the stuff that they kind of had to do to get to that point, where Warriors of Chaos are typically men from the north. They have no really other path than to ascend down this path of damnation and ultimately ruination for their gods. And while, yes, some people come from the Empire, like we noticed with Archaon or Festus the Leech Lord, or even Helbert, or not Kurt Helborg, Arcold Hellbrass. I think that kind of cements them as formidable champions of chaos, the fact that they came from the south. But most people are kind of confined to a life of chaos. So while you get these warriors of chaos from the north that kind of are destitute for this certain life, in 40k, the original Trader Marines, I mean, they were all once good guys. They were all once part of the legions, and they took part in this betrayal, but they weren't really all quite understanding of what chaos was. In the old world, they know what chaos is. Chaos is this corruptible force, but to the men in the north, it's their gods that they idolize and worship. And for better or for worse, they're there to kind of fulfill their needs. And I think it's what makes them both enjoyable to me, because I can get a different itch out of playing a Chaos Space Marine army. Whereas when I play like a Warrior of Chaos army, these are dudes that are just down for this life. Like, they already kind of understand what it is. There was no great treachery or betrayal. It's just very much interworked into their culture. And again, I'm kind of focusing a little bit more on the Space Marines, the Chaos Space Marine side of things. But I mean, I think that is what makes Chaos so appealing to me in the old world, is the fact that it's more looked at like, it's just is what it is at this point. Like the feast halls of Khorne, there's obviously a paradise that awaits them, and it's not just torture, punishment, and forsakenness, which it could be if you mess up your path or the gods bless you a little too much. But this book really covers what makes a Warrior of Chaos freaking awesome. It starts off in Zanbaijin, and I've been tooting the horn about it for a while. This epic ancient battlefield that has been around longer than mankind, where everyone just kind of gets cold to take on this massive fight. And these guys go and they dish it out to see who's going to be chosen by the gods. And you really get a great idea and depiction of what it takes to kind of be one of these chosen warriors. I mean, you're not just a regular guy. You're a lord amongst men. You're already a pillar of fucking paragon of damnation at this point. And I think it's really cool to see how the first couple of chapters kind of build up to Tamurkhan's rise to power. And what this book also does is it prefaces kind of the unpredictability of a chaos horde. As you go through the book, you start seeing Tamurkhan struggle to keep his army together, struggle to stay on the objective. He's playing the long game, but his warriors want that instant glory. They're used to this instant gratification. And it's something that we saw echoed as well in the End Time series with Archaon, how he kind of sat his butt behind and sent out little tendrils of his warband to mess with the Empire. And in that downtime, he used it to kind of weed out anyone that wasn't going to be on board, on plan, someone that tried to assassinate him. And when you see the Chaos Lords in the history of the old world kind of take their sweet time and not act immediately once getting the glory and favor of the gods, you kind of watch their warband fall apart, but you also watch the Lord kind of lose favor. And Tamurkhan, in all his glory, is still just a failure of a follower of the Pantheon. He fails ultimately to seal the deal and to sit upon the throne of chaos. He does not get to follow through and sack Nuln. And I mean, obviously it opens up ways for Archaon to kind of come into the setting and clobber, the Empire, unfortunately. But it's one of those things where you watch him do this epic build-up, amass a horde, make these broker deals with the Chaos Dwarves, battle all sorts of different elements just to kind of fritter it away in a desperate gambit. And I think it should be noted, too, that it's a misunderstanding of what the gods really wanted out of Tamurkhan. He thought he was supposed to sack Nuln, but he found out that he had to shed every bit of his humanity by getting rid of Bublos, poisoning this lake, and opening up essentially like a demonic portal to where the demons could kind of pour through. And he realized it too late and paid the ultimate price and failed. Now, Tamurkhan has a wonderful story. I did a series on it. I'll probably be redoing the series now that I know a little bit more about audio. But this is what the whole book is designed around. The story is great. The campaign is freaking fantastic. And given the fact that we're going to be getting Cathay out here, I'm really excited to kind of port this campaign over because I feel like it's really awesome. And Cathay does make a little bit of an appearance in here, and it'll be nice to see when the range drops, if we can kind of incorporate this campaign maybe across like a Discord group or a community where we can maybe get in games on Tabletop Simulator where we kind of host a little event. I think it'd be kind of fun. I still have to work the deets out on it, but something I'm really interested in looking in towards. Now, as you go through the campaign, there's two sides. There's Tamurkhan, and then there's everyone else. So everyone else would consist of the orcs and goblins he fights, the ogre kingdoms, the chaos dwarves in the first part of the campaign, and the latter part, they're obviously with Tamurkhan, and Cathay and all that. So there's a lot of stuff that you go through, and I think every phase symbolizes each chapter. So as we do chapter 1, we can say, okay, what's the chapter 1 campaign? Well, that's going to be Zambai-Zhen and the Dark Gods and the Gallows Tree and all that other stuff he goes through. Where, phase 2 is maybe when he takes on the orcs and goblins. He takes on the Red Fish tribe. He goes through and deals with the hobgoblins. Now, it says vampire counts. I don't remember him fighting vampire counts a whole lot, but that might just be me. And then it says Empire standing in for Cathay. Obviously, Sal the Faithless, his Chaos War Mammoths, and the Beastmen go to try to steal their secrets, and they just get utterly nuked. So it's really cool because we can kind of get an idea of how we can play through a campaign, maybe interactively amongst the people that want to participate. Now, one thing it says is, this is designed to have fun. It's a narrative play. It's not competitive. And that's kind of what I want to focus on a bit more on my channel, is enjoying the hobby a little bit more outside of the competitive aspect of it. Now, moving forward here, there was quite a few updates that came with this book. We got Tamurkhan, naturally. There can be only one. He had a really cool ability where when he came down to his last wound, the maggot could shoot out and take on a host. Really fantastic artwork. Again, the Forge World team has always just brought things to life a little bit, in my opinion, a little better than some of the other artwork. Sail the Faithless just being the ultimate douche. And then kind of going through here, Plague Toads of Nurgle. I mean, look at just the grimness of it. It's amazing. The color palettes were done very well. The Chaos War Mammoth, the Chaos Siege Giant, which rip, that model was fantastic. But it gives us a bunch of rules for running Tamurkhan's Horde, but also it gives us some rules of a Paragon of Chaos. Now, a Paragon of Chaos is something that a Chaos Warband can take. Now, say I take, I take Warriors of Chaos of Nurgle, and then I take some Beastmen, I take some Demons of Nurgle. You're allowed to in the Paragon of Chaos. But as you start losing battles, guess what? Your army starts acting differently. And there's kind of to represent you losing favor. And it tells you in here, like, nothing below, like, 3,000 points is the ideal, situation for it, which I think is fantastic. Yeah, the Great Host. And if you want to get your hands on these rules, but you don't want to pay for the Tamurkhan book or anything, I can take screenshots and throw them up in a Discord, but also too, it's no different than the ones you'll find in the Glotkin campaign book. They kind of ported it over for the end times. So if you want to get your own and look through the Glotkin, I recommend it. The End Times books, while they have some negative connotations to them, are actually really pretty fantastic reads. And the rules in there were a lot of fun. Very, very, objective-based and fun instead of competitive. And I would say some people naturally are going to try and, go through and build, these disgusting unbreakable lists. I think the High Elves, when they became one elf faction, people were mix-matching a Dark Elf character with a High Elf unit and a High Elf character with a Dark Elf unit and just making them unbreakable and stupid combinations. But if you're not being a douche about it and you're there to enjoy it and play out your massive freaking faction, the rules for the End Times aren't bad. I'm just going to throw it out there. I enjoy them. But again, my community, we're not big on tournament play. We're big on fun. So it goes through a Paragon, and it says Paragon Decay. You can do this with anything. You want to take Archaon or any of that, you can go through and do it with that. Now, the Empire got some really cool stuff. We got Alice von Draken on her freaking Carmine Dragon. Really amazing. Look at... Oh, my head's in the way. Look at that art right there. It's fantastic. She is killer. And I think that's one thing I really love about this book is it offers some really fantastic color palettes and stuff. And we haven't even gotten to the Chaos Tours yet. They got some really cool shit. Now moving from Alice von Draken or Carmine Dragon, the Marienburg freaking land ship. Outstanding. Really cool model. I know there's a couple recasters that still carry it. And it's one of those ones where it's like, we're not going to see it back because they were specifically in this book. Leetpold the Black, just a super scoundrel mercenary lord. He's hilarious. I covered him in, I think, part 2 of Tamurkhan. Really funny. He's a total douche. And then, of course, Teddy Bruckner, for those of you familiar with him in Total War. So you got a lot of really cool stuff. I think they had the Nuln Ironsiders. Was I correct in my speaking on that, or is my head up my ass? There was, and I believe I may have missed it. Captain Edward Ellis. Yeah, here we go. The Engineer and the Ironsides. So yeah, Jubal Falk, which really cool freaking model, and the Nuln Ironsides. And I think that's where you kind of got those really sweet, heavy armored handgunners. I'm not 100% familiar. And then we got the Chaos Dwarf freaking section. Now this was the heart and soul of the book for a lot of people. Chaos Dwarves making a return. They did not come with the big hats for some people. They were upset about that. But it's like Alan Bly said in that interview, it was never meant to be the entire Chaos Dwarf range, just a taste of what they were willing to do for the faction. And I mean, the artwork is fantastic. You got really cool looking Chaos Dwarves, almost looking like they're actually on fire. And it was awesome. I think to this day, some of the best art in the Chaos Dwarf arsenal. Their Bull Centaur, their Bull Taurus was fantastic. The Balefire Taurus, if you will. And I believe it had a perk back then where if you casted Fireball or a magic fire spell at it, it actually regained wounds, which was pretty awesome. The bull centaurs were a nice addition, very big models, and they definitely are monsters, Cav. The Iron Demon War Engine, you can find STLs online with Thomas the Tank Engine's face. Why not? I think that's hilarious. Magma Cannon, obviously a lot of people roll with the Magma Cannon. In 8th edition, cannons were pretty much like snipers because they got rid of no pre-measuring. And with that, it made it a little bit more difficult. I do like at the end times they combined the profiles. They combined it, not even a word. I do like in the end times they combined the profiles of the rider and mount together. I thought that was smart with the wounds, and it kept characters alive a little bit longer. And my favorite is the Dreadquake Mortar. It made everything dangerous terrain. So if you shot at somebody and they wanted to move next turn, it was dangerous terrain. And if you had the Ogre Loader on I believe 2-up, you could reload and shoot in the next turn. But if you failed, you had to miss a turn of shooting. It allowed hobgoblins. Now, I really thought I read in here that you could take stuff from the Orcs and Goblins army book. I might be mistaken or getting it mixed up with the old world, so you'll have to forgive me on that. I'm not crazy well versed in everything. And then kind of going through here, we got the points, and then we have the lore of Hashut, which I thought was kind of cool. As they miscast, you would roll and they would turn into stone, but they'd gain, I think, +1 toughness, but lose an additional wound. And then we go into the Storm Magic, where it releases scrolls of binding almost for certain characters. You get the Carmine Dragon, the Toad Dragon, Bile Trolls. And the way it would kind of work is you could take a scroll of binding in the Storm Magic, get access to the monster based on whatever faction you are, and you can kind of go through and roll with it like that. And there was a chart, like an allied chart, I believe, that it offered as well, but that might be in the Monstrous Arcanum, which we will be checking out next week. Everybody, I want to say thank you for joining me on this journey. I look forward to kind of going through the Monstrous Arcanum with y'all. These books are awesome little treasure troves of, honestly, lore, but also of the hobby. And I feel like it's a shame that we can't get our hands on them anymore. But if I'm able to, I will go through and go through them as much as you guys would like and focus on them. So Monstrous Arcanum will be next week, and I'll be dropping that video on Monday. And then we will be going through the Beastman video for getting started in the old world on Friday. Everybody, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. Peace.